with Hurricane Ian set to bear down on the Triad. Carolina Classic Fair Friday night rivals presented by Roan Law moves to Thursday night here in High Point as we get set for Ravenscroft and High Point Christian on My 48. Mark Covert alongside Spencer Turkin as we get set for what should be an interesting matchup. You've got two teams that have short weeks that they've had to deal with, as well as the elements of this hurricane that's getting set to move in. How do you feel like both teams are going to handle this one?
Well, it's going to be up to them to kind of manage the weather. Of course, there's going to be more wind in play, potentially rain. Of course, with the hurricane closing in, it's going to be kind of a mixed bag of what we're going to see weather-wise here tonight. But they've got to be able to adapt to that here on the field tonight on a short week.
And you have a quarterback for High Point Christian in Isaiah Quick that's making just his second start ever. And you take a look at this Ravenscroft defense that he has to go up against. They're allowing just 16 points per game. That is quite the task for Mr. Quick.
Yeah, especially on a night where, again, the weather's going to come into play. But he's got to be the leader of this offense. He has to manage everything that they're doing offensively and also protect the football and keep it away from that Ravenscroft defense.
We've got two head coaches in this one with very different paths to the sidelines. We're going to head down to Rebecca Fiorentino, the third member of our team, for that story.
Thanks so much, guys. Well, it's the battle of the rookie and the vet coaches here tonight. While one's legacy as the state's longest tenured head football coach at one school comes to the end at the conclusion of this year, the other's legacy has just begun. Ravenscroft head coach Ned Gannett has been playing or coaching football for 57 straight falls, with 42 of those at the helm for the Ravens. While High Point Christian's Ryan Rocha is in his first season with the Cougars, but he's no stranger to coaching. He spent 14 seasons coaching high school football in California. This year, his first in North Carolina. Two different paths, two different journeys to get them here tonight, but only one will leave victorious.
Varsity high school football on a Thursday here in High Point. It's Ravenscroft and High Point Christian, and it's coming up next on My 48.
I grew up where the world was simple and slow, learn right from wrong, work road to road. There was never plan B.
Our crew here at the High Point Athletic Complex might want to start jumping around with the fans as it's a little chilly out there, Mark. Unseasonably cold as the hurricane gets set to move in. And we are ready for football here in High Point. David Green for High Point Christian getting ready to kick things off. And Mark, let's go ahead and get your keys to the game.
Yeah, when you're looking at Ravenscroft, tonight's about ball control offense. This is an offense that usually likes to throw it around a little bit, keep that thing on the ground, and don't allow yourself to get ahead of yourself, get caught up in the wind, literally. And then forcing this High Point Christian team to throw the football. It's the opposite effect. They like to keep it on the ground, force them to take to the air. If you are High Point Christian, you got to run to victory, right? Just keep running that thing on the ground, run your offense the way you know to. The weather will side to what you want to do here tonight, so keep it on the ground, then just dominating up front. It's about getting in the line of scrimmage, winning at the line of scrimmage on offense and defense. Those are your keys to victory tonight.
High Point Christian averaging just 49.8 yards per game through the air. With the weather, that might play into their hand as David Green is set to kick this one off to A.J. Peterson and Pierce Davidin. Green approaches, sends this one end over end, and it is fielded by Davidin. He's across and stood up at the 25, and that's where forward progress will take him. So decent field position for Ravenscroft to begin this game, as Kyle Hawkins, the 6'5", 200-pound senior, will lead the offense out onto the field.
I'll tell you what, he's got the stature of a perennial quarterback, and he's played like this year. He has been lights out and the true leader for this Ravenscroft offense. Going to see what he can do here tonight. Might have to keep that thing on the ground a little bit more and not put the ball in harm's way with the wind blowing as much as it is.
So 1st and 10 from the 26 to begin the ball game. Swings it to the outside. It is complete to Deacon Adams, and the Ravens able to go ahead and start off 1 for 1 on the day.
Not a bad throw, and a good way to approach this opening drive already. Not taking shots down the field when you're throwing into the wind right now. Just little out routes, those checkdowns, the short game, kind of a West Coast offense, if you will, here tonight. The short throws and giving your guys catch and run opportunities.
2nd and 8 now for the Ravens, as you see Ned Gannett on the Ravenscroft sidelines. Hawkins will work from the gun. He's got a full backfield joining him. Quarterback keeper off tackle. He'll put his head down and trips to the 39. They'll call it the 40, and that is a Ravenscroft first down, brought to you by Crescent Ford. As we get a look at the Cook Rentals starting lineups, here's the starting lineup for the Ravenscroft offense.
Kyle Hawkins, you saw him right there, using that big body to get upfield. Watch out for William Stevenson, though. Shifty running back and get a good amount of yards after the carry, and he's kind of a do-it-all player offensively and on special teams as well, returning kicks.
Cook Rentals renting the smart way to get things done. Hawkins will go under center. The pitch to Stevenson, and he's wrapped up and brought down after a gain of about a half a yard. You don't see that too often, Mark, where a shotgun quarterback will go under center and work both ways.
Yeah, no, really, and especially not in today's game. Usually you have that player, or that offense, excuse me, who runs out of either the pistol set, they run out of shotgun under center, and this is an offense that usually likes to take it 5 yards back.
Well, this offense will be going up against that High Point Christian defense on your screen, presented by Cook Rentals.
Mac Johnson, number 43, the big man up front, just made a stop on that last play as well. Big frame, 13 tackles for loss coming into this game. He is a stud, and he lives an opponent's backfield. They have to key in on him tonight.
At Ravenscroft last year, 3 tackles in that ball game. Cook Rentals renting the smart way to get things done. Hawkins will drop back into the shotgun, 2nd and 9. Two-step drop, flings it out quickly. It's secured by Adams, heads upfield. He's hit at midfield and brought down by Nolan Fleming.
Tell you what, looked kind of like a dangerous pass over the top that time, but Hawkins able to get the football up and over the defender, and Adams, big frame, using it to get a few extra yards after the catch. See right there, Adams, good anticipation for the football, good timing all the way around, and able to get upfield for a few extra yards.
That's a Crescent Ford first down for Ravenscroft. Ride to the game in style with a new F-150 from Crescent Ford here in High Point. Hawkins back under center. 1st and 10 from midfield. Flings it out. He's got Stevenson, who's across the chains. throws a shoulder, and he is still going, and finally taken down at the 24-yard line. William Stevenson showing some of that strength, standing at 6 foot, 220 pounds.
Well, give Stevenson credit, actually going up to get that football, snared it out of the night air here, and then able to get upfield, and once he gets in the open field, right there, it's using that size to his advantage, lowering the shoulder, breaking a couple tackles, and keeping those feet churning for another big gain.
Another Crescent Ford first down for the Ravens. This time, Stevenson keeps it on the ground. And for a gain of a couple, it'll bring up 2nd and a long 8.
This is an offense that you would probably consider more of an air raid. They don't run the ball particularly well. They have some effectiveness with it, but the true danger lies whenever they're dropping back to pass that football. That is when this offense operates at its best. And right now, even given the elements, it's pretty windy pregame. They are managing it well.
Lots of weapons on the outside. Deacon Adams, who we've seen a couple of times, A.J. Peterson, Donnie Williams. Hawkins drops back, lets it go quickly. That one is complete to Davidin. He's down the sideline and in for 6. Touchdown, Ravenscroft. That's a Riddell Tractor touchdown. Riddell Tractor making tall grass short.
Again, just like every other pass on that drive, short drop back, easy throw out to the outside, and allow your receivers to work in space. That time, just drops it off. Williams able to work his way upfield, just an excellent play call, and the catch and run to finish for the 6.
And now he's on to kick this one through, and he does. So, Pierce Davidin makes it 7-0 all by himself as we get set for a timeout here in High Point. Kyle Hawkins comes out ready to go. His wideouts finding pay dirt. It's 7-0 Ravenscroft here in High Point. Welcome back out to the High Point Athletic Complex. Ravenscroft leading High Point Christian 7-0 after the first drive here on the Carolina Classic Fair Friday Night Rivals, presented by Roan Law. Closed captioning for tonight's game is being brought to you by Caring Hands at Caring Hands Home Health. We understand that happiness of your loved ones is important to their overall wellness. Well, Mark, great opening drive for Ravenscroft, 7 plays. 72 yards, 355. And how about Kyle Hawkins, 4 for 4 for 60 yards through the air.
Super efficient drive to start the game. Again, it kind of expressed how they would throw the football. That's their primary means of transportation within this offense. And obviously you're going to be throwing into the wind on that first drive. Good load management that time. Mixing in some runs as well, but the passing game was on fire to start.
Payne Kukulinski will send this one deep. It's fielded by Garrett Weldner, and he's ahead to the 25, where the Cougars will hit the field for the first time on offense. We'll get a look at Isaiah Quick, who made his debut last week, went 7 of 13 for just 35 yards, didn't throw a pick, didn't throw a touchdown, seemed to really just be kind of feeling out the situation there in that first game, and it was a tough one against Covenant Day, 42-0. The Cougars dropped that one.
Well, it's about managing the load, and you come in here with higher expectations now in the second start. He's gotten a look at what game action is like. Now see how he starts in his first start here at home.
And a broken play in the backfield, and DeVore is devoured. Let's get another look at this one.
I'm thinking that no one was really ready for that play. And that may have been on the center that time, just snapping the football way too early. Got to make sure you got your snap count right. And really, you got to give it up to Quick that time for being aware and catching that football.
It could have been a lot worse as we get a look at the Cook Rental starting lineups for the High Point Christian offense. We mentioned Ethan DeVore, the running back. He has been a stud this year, averaging 8.4 yards per carry on 83 touches. DeVore still up, and now he is absolutely planted. Payne Kukalinski. That's his 19th tackle on the season. As we get a look at this Ravens defense, brought to you by Cook Rentals. Cook Rentals, renting the smart way to get things done. And the smart way is to funnel things to these linebackers. Kukalinski, Brooks, Dirks, those guys get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely, and really great job by that front four defensively, or rather the front three defensively, to hold up the running back that time, not allow him to get going that time. DeVore had nowhere to go by the time there was a host of Ravens there.
3rd and 17, and we have a whistle, and that'll be illegal procedure. There were too many men in motion at the same time.
Just as good as Ravenscroft was to start the game offensively, it has been the opposite for High Point Christian here early on.
Are these the effects of a short week that we're seeing?
Absolutely, and really when you're having that one less day to prepare, I don't think sometimes people understand how much of a difference that can make, because usually this is your prep day. This is the day you start running over stuff, you do your walkthrough, making sure everything's tight, everything's correct, and everyone's on the same page. And when you lose that day, it can have effects on what happens during the ball game, and maybe that's what we're seeing now.
Weldner, the end around, and he has very little real estate to work with. As he is brought down, it'll put a 4 in the box, and the punt unit will trot on for the Cougars. So a tough 4 and out to begin the game, 3 and out, excuse me, to begin the game for High Point Christian.
Just a smothering defense. Ravens flocking to the football that time to make the play out in the open space. Just not that much right there. Weldner did what he could with little real estate to work with. Give him credit there to gain some positive yards.
And it looks like we have an injured Raven down on the field. Deacon Adams is still on the grass here at the High Point Athletic Complex, the senior. 15 tackles, a fumble recovery to his name this season. He'll jog off. That's a great sign. It was a long journey for the Ravens to High Point today, about an hour 45 minute via charter bus.
Poor kids.
That's a long way to go for an in-season high school football game.
Yeah.
This one is booted away. Fielded immediately and smothered by the Cougars, as A.J. Peterson had nowhere to go. And Will Saunders was there on the coverage. So that Ravenscroft offense that made it down the field in less than 4 minutes and found the end zone will try again with some pretty good field position at the 50.
I mean, just super efficient again in that first drive, throwing the football down the field, mixing in those runs to keep the defense honest. But you really got to respect the way that they were able to do it. There's a lot of those outside shots, just quick out routes, getting the football out of Hawkins' hands down the field. That might be the game plan here tonight. Again, if you're gonna try to mess with the wind and throw down the field, you're asking for trouble. So those short routes, if you're insistent on throwing the football, are what you need to go to.
Kyle Hawkins 4 for 4 on the evening already. The double pass, and this one is short. As Stevenson tried to come back for that throw. It was a beautifully developed play, just didn't have enough mustard on it. And the wind, when you're throwing into that brutal wind tonight, about 15-mile-per-hour gusts, that's why that ball kind of rose up and stood still.
Yeah, I mean, it just hung up there, maybe a touch too long. And that's what kind of caught it. You see it kind of wobbling a little bit. It gets hung up there. The wind catches it just enough so that ball doesn't travel nearly as far down the field. Stevenson, give him credit, tracking the ball, trying to come back and make a play on it.
Well, Hawkins still perfect on the night. Yep, because that ball came from Deacon Adams. So to bring up 2nd and 10 from midfield. Counter. Stevenson is stood up and roped down to the ground by Fleming. Nolan Fleming, part of this young defense that really has started to perform for Ryan Rocha, who himself is a defensive coach, made his way here from California. It's his first year here in North Carolina, and such an interesting story. No previous connections to the area. Just felt that this was the right move, and we'll hear more from Rebecca Fiorentino later on in the broadcast about his journey here. It was a pleasure getting to sit down with him earlier in the week and learn about him and his team. Here's Hawkins, spins out of trouble, and he's got nowhere to go. He is pinned down to the ground as Bryce Thomas, the 6'3" senior, with his 5th sack of the season.
It's the pursuit that gets you home sometimes. You're not going to get that instant get off that time. Hawkins dodging traffic that time, but not able to get out of the way. Again, the pursuit is what got there that time, and just making sure you get home to bring them down. That's the way you want to get it done.
And so that'll bring the punt unit on. 4th down. This one's skied. And it'll roll out of bounds at around the 37-yard line. Ravenscroft still leads at 7-0 here in High Point. You're tuned in to the Carolina Classic Fair Friday Night Rivals, presented by Roan Law. Back with you here in High Point. Ravenscroft leads High Point Christian 7-0. Let's go ahead and send it down to the sidelines. Rebecca Fiorentino, the 3rd member of our crew, standing by.
Well, you mentioned it earlier. How did Ryan Rocha end up in High Point? Well, timing is everything, right? The head coach for the Cougars ended up in High Point on a leap of faith. He had never visited North Carolina before, coming to North Carolina for the first time for his interview. It was cold, icy, no leaves on the trees. Being a California guy, he still fell in love with the opportunity. He coached for 14 years, starting in the JV and then getting to varsity, had a winning record, not a losing season as the varsity coach, and needed a change. His 3 sons, started homeschooling them during the COVID, and started applying all around the country, and ended up here in High Point, fell in love with the opportunity and the school. And get this, his in-laws lived in California. They're moving in next door to the Rochas next week.
Rebecca, it really is quite the story, as Benny Limbacher will try and take that one ahead. He'll end up losing about a yard, and it'll bring up 3rd and 13. Ryan Rocha had been offered a few other jobs around the country. He just felt like this was the one that he could make a difference at, both on and off the field.
Yeah, and really at this level, that's kind of what you're looking for, right? It's not just about what you do on the field, but you're trying to develop these young men, these boys, really. And by the time they leave your program, you want them to be young men. So again, that goes from on the field success to what they do in the classroom, at home, in the community, building them to be better people, not just football players.
One thing that really stuck with me during our conversation is Quick will sling this thing out. He's got Weldner, who's able to step around a couple of traffic cones and finally got planted. But Coach Rocha is still trying to figure out how to get guys to go 2 ways, sometimes playing 2 ways and special teams. And he felt like it was important to get some of the other guys out on the field. And here at High Point Christian, lower enrollment, smaller football team, a lot of guys were used to not coming off the field at all. And Coach Rocha felt like it was important to develop everybody from number 1 to number 35 on his team. And he really stays true to that.
Well, and that's good, because you got to make sure if you can get guys out there, they got to be able to compete both ways.
That punt will take a Cougar roll inside the 25, and it is downed at the 24-yard line. And that is where the Ravens will begin their third drive from scrimmage.
Well, just to finish that thought, Spencer, really when you think about it, as the season goes on, you guys obviously get wear and tear. Physical football is not just a contact sport, it's a collision sport, right? So when you talk about the ability to have guys rested up because they're not going both ways, because they're able to take a breather, get off the field for a couple of snaps, that can go a mile. If you guys are fortunate enough to reach the playoffs, if you're fortunate enough to get that far, that helps as the season wears along, because a lot of teams don't have that luxury. If you can develop guys to do that, that's tremendous.
It certainly is. There's some movement along that offensive front. Joey Brooks popped his head up, and he did so before the ball was snapped.
It's not great. You got to hold your water right there, right? And that certainly doesn't help. From what we've seen with this offense, they've had no issues getting yards. Just comes down to now an execution standpoint. Again, maybe the short week affecting them.
Play action, Hawkins looking, and he is able to escape the first rush, and he is finally tripped up and brought down. Mac Johnson with the initial pressure there, he came screeching off that edge.
Well, I talked about him in the open. He's been the guy that we were kind of interested to watch this week. Watch him just beat his guy off the top. That's Stevenson. You have a defensive end lined up on a running back. Maybe missed something there, but I'm telling you what, Mac Johnson is a monster. He created that sack, and give credit to the rest of the Cougars for flying in there to make that sack.
Let's go ahead and send it down to the sideline. Rebecca Fiorentino standing by.
Yeah, I asked Coach about Mac Johnson this week, and he says he's super coachable. He has a motor on him, and you know, he's one of those guys who has a relentless pursuit of the ball. He's a natural-born leader, and Coach has high expectations for him. He considers him the emotional leader on the team, has great work ethic, and is always after the ball, but he just loves how he buys into what Coach is trying to do on and off the field as well, and has given him really high expectations for not only on the field, but off the field as well.
This defense allowing just 20.8 points per game. Mac Johnson, Jacob Burton, Bryce Thomas, that three-man front. It feels like 5 or 6 guys up there for the O-line.
Well, coming into this game, they combined for 10 sacks on the year, so they know how to get after the quarterback. Just got to continue to do that here tonight. Already 2 sacks.
Second and long, Hawkins dumps this off to Stevenson on the screen, and he is up to the original set of markers, and now is taken down at the 30.
Good, how are you?
It'll bring up third and about 4.
Well-developed screen that time. It kind of looked like it was double pumped that time. And as a defensive lineman, you got to come back to that football. Mac Johnson and a couple of his buddies were just caught in no man's land. And you're trying to get your hands up and make a play right there. Just couldn't get there in time. Good job by this offensive line allowing those defensive linemen to get upfield, giving Stevenson some room to run with and a convoy in front of him.
Hawkins trying to speed up the tempo here. Reverse. Peterson has it. He turns upfield, and he is brought down at the 42-yard line. That will be a Crescent Ford first down for the Ravens. Ride to the game in style with a new F-150 from Crescent Ford of High Point.
I'll tell you what, a little bit of trickery here early in the game. Had the double pass all ready to start this one, and now we have a reverse rearing its head. Really good play design that time, too. Caught this defense for High Point Christian are pursuing to the football hard. Able to come back the other way, and no one was home on the backside to defend.
Look at this old school I formation under center. Quick pass over the middle. That one is complete to Kukulinski, and he is down to the 25 as this Ravens offense continues to truck down the field. And that first down is another crescent forward first down. And they look like they're in one of those new F-150s right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, you said old school, you think running the football out of the I formation. No, not that time. Quick drop back, throw down the hash. Kukulinski cooking down the seam that time, able to break tackle and get more yards after contact.
Hawkins works from the gun. Heaves this one down the sideline, and it is dropped in the corner of the end zone by Deacon Adams. That doesn't happen too often.
Just missed him wide open that time. Got a step on the defender too, and you think about Adams just getting a step. That frame, my goodness. Getting down the field. Pretty pass just out in the open, just a smidge too far. That's a tough play for Deacon Adams to make down the field. A little bit less, maybe a yard less on that football. That's 6.
Deacon Adams listed at 6'2", $185. I got to tell you, Mark,
I don't believe it.
He looks like he's 200 easily, and he was moving.
I'd question even the 6'2". That's a big man out there.
2nd and 10, inside handoff. It'll go to Felton. He is taken down just shy of the first down marker. That's the first time we've heard from Corey Felton tonight, the junior. Averaging 6.5 yards per carry.
Very modest, very good gain, too, on his first touch of the game. Of course, you want that right there, a 9-yard gain on 2nd down. Give yourself a 3rd and manageable as we begin the 2nd quarter.
And after the first quarter, Ravenscroft driving, leading 7-0 here in High Point against High Point Christian. It's Friday Night Rivals on a Thursday. Presented by Roan Law. We're back after this on My 48. We're back in High Point with tonight's School Spirit Row as we see the High Point Christian Academy student section here on Homecoming, presented by the Carolina Classic Fair. The Carolina Classic Fair, riding, rocking, live stocking. Tickets available online now as the fair starts on Saturday, October 1st, and runs through the 9th. As we have a handoff to Kukulinski, and he is angled out of bounds. And yes, that is not a mistake. The fair has now moved the opening date to Saturday, and it will begin Saturday morning. Mark,
see if I can swing up there this week.
I was going to say, what deep fried food are you planning on consuming while you're at the fair?
Not the soaking wet kind, I can tell you that. So I might wait until maybe the middle of next week to swing by. But
I heard there's a Moose and Brews event on Saturday.
oh,
Does that change your mind?
it may have. I'm off. I have nothing to do.
Hawkins flings it towards the outside. That one is complete to Peterson. He's wrapped up and brought down to the grass. It'll be very close to that first down marker. And we'll see where the spot is. It'll bring up first and goal after that Crescent Ford first down. Check out the newest Ford trucks at CrescentFord.com after that first down.
This offense is living off those short out routes right now. I mean, they are getting there, and these playmakers are making plays in space. They are driving yet again.
Inside handoff. Stevenson. And he's in. Touchdown, Ravenscroft. 13-0 with 11:27 to go as the Ravens march down the field and find paint dirt for the second time tonight. And that is a Riddle Tractor touchdown. Riddle Tractor making tall grass short.
Just running straight up downhill that time. Stevenson using that power, lowering the shoulder and falling into the end zone.
That kick is blocked. And the score will remain 13-0. You know, Mark, when you and I showed up today, we thought maybe there's a chance that there won't be any PAT kicks tonight because of the wind, but we didn't predict a blocked kick as we saw on that last one. But here's Stevenson, head down, shoulder forward, and across the goal line to cap off a 9-play, 76-yard drive in 3 minutes even. And how about that Cougar rush there, breaking through and able to get a hand on it.
No TV timeout.
It's good penetration on the extra point that time. But defensively on that last play on the touchdown, I don't know that Stevenson even got touched. I mean, we talked about earlier in the drive, old school I formation, and they ended up throwing the football. Not that time, not at the goal line. This is not the Seattle Seahawks. They're going to run that football down your throat and right into the end zone.
Listen, Coach Gannett has seen it all. State championships in 1985, 89, 94, 2000, and 2015. He retires at the end of this season. Started right around the same time that some famous basketball coach at Duke, Mike Krzyzewski, I think his name was.
I don't know.
All started right around the same time. A lot of Duke connections. Obviously, is Gannett a Duke alum. Played football and baseball. As this one is picked up by the Cougars. And High Point Christian will start this next drive at the 19-yard line.
Just kind of misplayed that football that time. Got away from him, didn't track it well in the air. Had to back up and make a play on that one. Clay just not able to corral that one deep.
Clay, a freshman, playing mostly defense this season. A little special teams sprinkled in. 6'1", 190. Coach Rocha was very high on the young man in our call earlier this week.
There is young talent across this team for High Point Christian. It's got to develop. It's just got to develop, and that really starts with Isaiah Quick as well. Your quarterback has to get going here on this drive.
Quick surveying the field, tosses to the outside, completes the pass where he finds DeVore, and he is angled out of bounds. Right around that first down marker. And it'll be just shy. It'll bring up second and a short one. Nope, they're going to move the chains late. That's a Crescent Ford first down. Check out the newest Ford trucks at CrescentFord.com.
Yeah, DeVore just lowering the shoulder at the end of that run. I like that. And I really like Isaiah Quick taking what the defense gave him. Surveyed the field, just comes back to his running back in the backfield that time for the quick swing pass. Just take what the defense is giving you and allow your guys to go to work.
Quick hands the ball off. DeVore is swallowed up almost immediately. And I'm not sure that Quick saw that there was an open receiver towards the short side of the field near that High Point sideline. The coaching staff for Ravenscroft caught it. Sent a couple of DBs out that way, but that could have spelled disaster for the Ravens.
Donnie Williams was the guy that ended up going out there onto that island one-on-one, but if Quick sees that and he snaps that ball right away, you're getting him a chance to make a play in space for sure.
2nd and 10, quick, gets rid of it. Very fast manner, and that screen is sniffed out immediately by Davidson as Weldner had nowhere to work. Screens taking a long time to develop.
Yeah, they are, and Blaylock actually on the outside was trying to get set and didn't notice the ball had been snapped right away. So if he gets a hand on it, maybe it's a different play, but that allowed, I believe that was Donnie Williams to zone in, make a play on the football in the backfield.
This Ravenscroft team did not play a game last week, even though they recorded a win. It was via a forfeit. DeVore takes the handoff, spins out of the first tackle, planted on the 2nd try. And that'll do it for the Cougars on this drive here in the 2nd quarter as the punt unit will make its way out onto the field.
I think one of the things you come into a game like this wondering, of course, Spencer, you alluded to the fact that they did win last week by forfeit, so they didn't play last week. So realistically, it's almost like they had a bye and then you have a short week. Kind of an odd schedule, and that harkens back to some of the 2020 stuff that we saw, obviously, with COVID. We're kind of thinking about what kind of team we would see here tonight. Right now, they're off to a pretty good start.
That punt is fielded. Here's Peterson, and they'll scamper ahead to the 41-yard line, and the Ravens will have tremendous field position to begin this drive.
Starting in plus territory. I mean, you cannot ask for anything better than that. Just a bit of a muff punt that time. Not muffed, but shanked.
And the thing is, Mark, when you're playing a team like Ravenscroft, 6-0 coming into this one, you can't make those types of mistakes. You have to be able to flip the field and to make the Ravens work for their yardage.
You're playing a field position game.
That one is completed to Williams, tries to scoot inside, and his forward progress is halted by Fleming. Nolan Fleming has been all over the place in this ballgame.
Sideline to sideline is a good way to describe him. He is active, that is for sure. When this weather has come in, this temperature has dropped, he has been on fire all around the field. You saw him in the middle of your screen right there to start the play. You see 22 just fly in here with the neck brace. I mean, prototypical linebacker stuff. And then not allowing the ball carrier to get upfield. That's exactly what you want out of a guy that you expect to be the leader of your defense sitting right in the middle.
You would think that Fleming is a player from Ned Gannett's era with that neck piece going. Hawkins, the keeper, cuts it ahead, and he is down to the 31-yard line. Stay tuned for the North Carolina DHHS halftime report. This week's Scholar athletes participating school interviews with the principals and head of schools, and first half highlights and stats.
Like Hawkins keeping the football that time running as well. As far as carries are concerned, on the year, he is 2nd on this team. So he is not afraid to run the football and using that big frame, getting outside on the quarterback power. Pick up yards and give yourself a 3rd and manageable yet again.
Hawkins, the handoff to Stevenson, goes over 2 players. And that'll earn a Crescent Ford first down for the Ravens. My goodness, he just used it like it was a pommel horse.
Right, he just kind of elevated, right? I mean, you see up the right side here. Good job blocking up front, but just kind of went up and over. Now, North Carolina rules state you can't hurdle. I don't know that was really even considered a hurdle.
It was like a push-off.
Yeah, I just kind of stepped over.
Check out the newest Ford trucks at crescentford.com. 1st and 10 for the Ravens. Play action, Hawkins scampering, decides to unload, and it was intended for Felton, but a broken play for sure.
Hawkins just trying to make something out of nothing that time. Give him credit to get that football away, live to play another down. Don't put yourself in a position where you're losing yards and moving the ball backwards and getting back off schedule.
And he was operating in traffic there, just avoiding targets.
I mean, he's shifty. For a guy his size, he moves very well outside the pocket and even inside it. It's hard to lose a 6'5", 200-pound quarterback.
Hawkins fires that one, and it is dropped by Donnie Williams. Had him cutting across and just could not hold on.
Right in the chest. And coaches will tell you, what's the thing? Don't catch with your chest, catch with your body, catch with your hands. Right there, Donnie just took his eyes off the football, tried to pull it into his chest. Get out there, catch the football with your hands, and then get upfield.
See Coach Cadet saying, come on, Donnie. He knows it. I'm sure Williams knows it himself.
Yeah. Oh, Donnie boy.
Brings up 3rd and 10.
Mac, you chase, Mac, you chase.
The top of the screen right there, Adams. One-on-one with him.
Hawkins fires this one. This time it is complete to Williams. He's able to avoid a couple of tackles, and now he is brought down by a pack of Cougars. But that'll be good for another Crescent Ford first down for Ravenscroft.
Donnie Williams, redemption, right? Just come back across the middle. A strike, catches it with his hands that time, bobbled it just for a second, but able to make a play. And they use the athleticism at the end of the play, jumping over a guy, breaking a tackle, and then carrying some guys forward for a few extra yards as well.
And it was the exact same route that he ran.
Yep.
And his quarterback trusted him enough to go back to him despite the drop. That's how championship teams are formed.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to have the confidence. You got to have confidence in your quarterback to go back to you. And you got to have the confidence to come up big when he does come back to you.
Carolina Classic Fair Friday night rivals on My 48. Back after this.
Back to Friday night rivals. Well, head coach for Ravenscroft, Ned Gannett, has high praise for his quarterback, standing at 6'4". He's left-handed, he's strong. He's a football junkie, he tells us. He's been given the physical tools, and he's really worked on his craft. He's in the rotation as a pitcher on the baseball team as well, and he wants to be perfect, but I tell him he doesn't need to be perfect. He just needs to be solid and consistent and get that respect.
Felton into the end zone. Rumbles his way across the goal line and in. 19-0. Ravens on top.
Felton is no small back working out of the backfield, but I'll tell you what, he's got some burst to the outside, doesn't he? Able to work his way off the right side of that offensive line, evade some tacklers for High Point Christian, and find his way into the end zone. Look at this run, just off to the right side. Great job by his big guys up front to seal the edge off, and then a little bit of shiftiness by Felton to break that thing outside, turn the corner, and find pay dirt.
Another Riddle Tractor touchdown. Riddle Tractor making tall grass short. A 2-point conversion attempt. Hawkins flings it to the end zone. That one knocked away and broken up by Benny Limbacher, so it'll remain 19-0. Ravenscroft trying to play spoiler here at homecoming in High Point. Closed captioning for tonight's game being brought to you by Caring Hands at Caring Hands Home Health. We do our best to make your loved ones feel like they're being taken care of by family. Quick drive, 7 plays, 41 yards, 2 minutes, 51 seconds. As you see, Corey Felton getting the job done on the ground. And this Ravens offense staying true to its balanced self coming into this one. On the ground, 165.8 yards per game. Through the air, 169.5 yards per game. And so far tonight, the Ravens, 179 yards of offense. High Point Christian, just 1.
When you have guys like Felton playing a position, again, that's a bigger dude. Took the football out of the backfield that time, and the shiftiness kind of catches you off guard a little bit. It's a team full of athletes. They know how to get the job done, and they know how to execute within the system. And I think that's probably the most important part, is once you know how to run everything, you can make all the plays you want.
Kukulinski sends this one back deep to Clay. Clay gets belted. And he was holding that football a little wildly as Olander came and laid the wood. As you see, a little lackluster with that ball protection there. That was awfully close to being a fumble.
It sure was. And obviously we couldn't see it right there because he kind of rolled over, but that is close. You got to keep that thing high and tight. Freshman, trying to find your plays, trying to make a play. You got to make sure that you're protecting that football above all else. High and tight.
But you know what? I give credit to Ryan Rocha and this High Point Christian Academy staff, because they're letting the young bucks play.
Yeah.
They're not yanking them after any type of mistake, and they're letting them play through and figure this thing out so that in a couple of years, this group is the core that they're hoping can get the job done. Quick fires, and that one is almost picked off by Peterson. That would have been his second interception of the season.
Limbacher looking for a flag that time. Just a little bit of physical play by Peterson at the point of attack that time. Really good break on the football. Way to be physical around the line of scrimmage. And quick, that was really his only option out there at that time. Limbacher's got to get that inside position. Beat Peterson to that football, get inside, and give Quick a chance to make a play with the football.
I will say, though, that was the best ball that we've seen out of Quick's hands so far tonight.
Yeah, I mean, from where it was supposed to be, it was accurate, on point. It's just on his receiver that time to get inside and make a play, get a good route that time, and get in position to catch the football.
And we have a whistle and a delay of game. Took too long to get the play in from the sideline for Quick. So our referee tonight, Jack Vestal and his crew, with umpire Cecil Mack, headline judge Chris Jarrell, line judge Craig Cox, and back judge Alfonso Sample. Been relatively quiet tonight, haven't thrown too much laundry on the field. Knock on wood, it'll stay that way. Let the young man figure this out.
Say no wood to knock on up here, I can tell you that. But I do like the fact that you're allowing the young guys to play, because how else are they going to gain experience? How else are they going to know what they're supposed to be doing in this circumstance? And as a matter of fact, Isaiah Quick just hit the sidelines.
Benny Limbacher will go ahead and start working in as the quarterback. The handoff to DeVore. Unable to spin out of trouble, and his forward progress is stopped, and that was a quick whistle. As we'll send it down to Rebecca.
Benny is a multi-tool guy. Ryan Rocha really likes him. He can play 3 different positions. He can be a defensive player, and is a great tackler, but has a great feel for the game. He'll put Benny in situationals, just like you saw him right there, but he loves his endurance. He's a 3-sport athlete, never has a break, always on the move. Be it safety, running back, and right now we'll see him at quarterback running the ball, but he really likes how he's just multifunctional and a communicator.
Limbacher was one of those guys that looked at coach and said, "Coach, I want to play special teams too." What do you mean I'm not out there?
That right there is a coach's dream. I mean, like, above all else, that is a coach's dream. When you got a guy who wants to contribute offensively, defensively, also on special teams, that is a special young man.
Carolina Classic Fair Friday Night Rivals presented by Roan Law. We're back after this on My 48. Windy here in High Point as Hurricane Ian gets set to move north, and we're sending our thoughts and prayers to everybody down in Florida in the line of the storm. Stay tuned for the NCDHHS halftime report. We'll have this week's scholar athletes participating in school interviews with the principals and first half highlights as well as stats. It's all coming up here at the half. Homecoming Thursday here in High Point as DeVore loses his balance and is taken down as we send it back down to the sideline. Rebecca Fiorentino has another report.
Well, during that break, Coach Rocha had a big message for his team. Do your job. We talked about getting better. We haven't seen that from you guys yet. Do your job. Be in it. He wants each and every one of them to stay in this game and do better at blocking. They want to see that on their offensive line, block for their quarterback, and just do your job, the simple things. It's about the little things. Get better each play.
Growing pains with such a young squad. But these are the things he expected when he took the job. That punt is off, and it is fielded by Peterson. He's wrapped up. The ball is loose on the deck, and it is recovered. Let's see. The officials are going to give it to Ravenscroft, but it was awfully close there. It looked like High Point Christian might be able to make a last-second effort at the bottom of that pile, but the officials got in there pretty quickly.
Yeah, they sure did. Just a really nice job hustling to the football by Ravenscroft. Putting it on the ground that time was Peterson. You see right here, just a couple of Cougars getting around the football that time. DeVore stripping the football right there, but not able to get back on top of it. Give credit to the Ravens getting around that football and recovering it.
That was a tremendous play right there by DeVore to just go in there and try and rip the thing loose, because Peterson had that thing pretty tightly up against his body.
Yeah, strong play.
Adams making some moves, and he is ahead inside the 15 and dropped at the 13 as Deacon Adams earns another Crescent Ford first down. Check out the newest Ford trucks at crescentford.com. Deacon Adams has been awfully impressive throughout this ball game, and that is a difficult receiver to try and track down if he beats you off that first step.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, we were saying earlier, we don't believe his listed size is really what he is on the field. 6'2", 185 is what we've got on the sheet here, and I don't believe it. It looks like we have offsetting penalties.
Ravenscroft backing up, but the officials are still chatting here.
If it's after the play, then the play should stand.
Kukalinski did not look happy as he came off the field. As this crew tries to sort things out, we'll get another look. You see Adams.
Bryce Thomas just missed that football. Good instinctual play to get his hands up coming off the edge. You saw it coming.
And there was the late hit.
Kukalinski, but
Kukalinski just came flying in there.
Yeah, he did. Say if it's after the play,
So we'll bring up 1st and 10.
Okay.
From the 34.
Saw that for just a couple yards, right? Physical play that time, just caught it after the whistle.
Hawkins steps up in the pocket, throws. That one is complete to Peterson.
I'll tell you what, Spencer, I'm impressed. Kyle Hawkins can flick the bean, can he?
He sure can. He's got so much poise in that pocket. But how about this offensive line? They have kept him relatively clean tonight. We heard Coach Gannett tell us earlier this week that he's been working with 14 different offensive linemen and has just asked that 7 of them decide to come and play on a regular basis. And they're coming.
Yeah, and when you've got guys like Mac Thomas and Bryce Thomas on the other side, you've got an imposing front in front of you. This offensive line so far tonight, for the most part, has been up to the challenge. They've done a great job of keeping the run game going and also keeping Hawkins upright.
Hawkins down the seam. That one is complete to Kukalinski, and he is in for 6. Touchdown, Ravens. Payne Kukalinski with his 4th touchdown of the season. And that's a Riddle Tractor touchdown. Riddle Tractor making tall grass short.
Tell you what, that was short work by this Ravenscroft offense, just getting down the field, working the seam that time. Kukulinski saw him atone for the penalty he had a few plays ago, punches it in. Another great throw down the seam by Hawkins.
And the extra point is good. Makes it 26-0 Ravenscroft. As Hawkins finds Kukulinski. He's able to absorb the contact and roll into the end zone to cap a 3-play, 35-yard drive in 65 seconds.
I mean, that was just pretty, right? Just right down there, and you've got a guy underneath. That's not an easy throw to make. You got one defender underneath, one over the top a little bit. You've got to put that ball exactly where it was. And give Kukulinski a great route as well to get inside release.
And how about that shot that our crew got of the entire offensive line, throwing cut blocks, chopping down trees, and making sure that Hawkins, who had no problem seeing anything anyway, he's 6'5",
well, yeah,
had nothing but green grass ahead of him. I mean, that was a tremendous job.
But you know, when you get to this point in the season, you're 6-0. It's not a mistake. You know, it's not like, oh, they got lucky 6 straight weeks in a row. That's not how that works. You have to have talent. There has to be execution. Maybe a forfeit here or there, but with that said, you know, even before last week, you're 5-0,
right,
and it's not a mistake. This team is talented.
And a touchback as Kukulinski sends that one deep. And I got to tell you, Mark, you're 100% correct. And I think that the Ravens are going to look back at last week and say that they needed that week. That was the rest week in the middle of the season.
Right in the middle of the season.
That you just needed to regroup, get your mentals right, and make sure that your team is ready for the long haul, right? I mean, when you're playing football, you need to make sure that you can go through the end of November. And that is a difficult task.
Well, and even when you start to look ahead, their schedule, it's not like it eases up. Next week, they have to drive all the way to Charlotte to play Charlotte Latin. So it's not exactly one of those things. Or excuse me, actually, no, that's at home next week. So they caught a break there. But either way, Charlotte Latin's no pushover either. You get a break like that in the middle of the season and a win, that's what you want.
Quick floated that one, and it was broken up by Williams. The intended receiver was Garrett Weldner. And now a late flag is thrown. And I wonder if that is going to be a taunting penalty.
Yeah, it is. Donnie Williams coming up, celebrating the incompletion. And I wonder if it's just him kind of angling towards that High Point Christian sideline. That kind of drew the flag that time. I don't know that it was really targeted towards anyone.
No, Jack Vestal and his crew decided to throw the flag on the field and let Williams know you can't do that.
Yeah, great coverage. Almost had an interception on that play as well. Just celebrating the play, and I'm thinking, again, maybe it's because he was angled towards the sideline. And it may have been what it was. I'm not sure about that one.
No, you know, the one thing I'll say is plenty of DBs these days, even when they don't actually make a play, they come up and celebrate. At least Williams made a play on that one, touched the football.
That's true. Ball's thrown like 15 yards over the head of anyone on the field. They just throw the arms up incomplete. That's true. But you got to play with that kind of mindset, right? Like you are the best player on the field. You could very well make the case. You hear a lot of people say that quarterback's the hardest position to play. Cornerback is very difficult. I mean, you've got to be one-on-one with the guy on most plays. Got to know exactly where everyone else is on the field. It's a hard position to play.
Well, Coach Gannett told us, when I asked him to describe his team, give me an adjective, he said confident.
Yeah.
He said that this team is just oozing confidence, sometimes a little too much, but that they are a confident bunch. They feel like they are going to get the job done every single play.
And we've seen that here tonight.
And listen, you're unblemished. There's no reason to think otherwise.
Well, exactly.
DeVore up the middle, and he is lassoed down by Dirks. Nolan Dirks, the team's leading tackler heading into tonight.
But even Kukulinski, right? He, on the last drive they had, before he scores a touchdown, he drew a penalty for a late hit. So even when they make those mistakes, they're able to atone for them even later in a drive in a big way. So when you're able to do that, overcome those adversities so easily, that's a big boon for your team, especially here as the season goes on. Usually when you catch a team that's super confident at the end of the season, it's not going to bode well for whoever the opponent is.
It'll bring up 2nd and 8 for the Cougars. A delayed handoff, and DeVore will try and reach forward for about a half a yard, as this Ravenscroft defense has just been stellar tonight.
DeVore has just been fighting for whatever he can get. I mean, this is a running back that has done well this year in a running game that has found some success throughout the early parts of the season. Now in the middle of the year, they are getting stonewalled here tonight, but DeVore continues to fight. Saw the forced fumble on special teams and now still running hard. 5'9", 190, you could have fooled me. He runs much bigger than what his listed size is.
Well, heading into tonight, 8.4 yards per carry, had 4 100-plus yard games. And we have a whistle and a timeout taken by High Point Christian before the play clock expired. Last timeout of the half for High Point Christian. Only 1:42 to go here in half number 1. Not like you can take the timeout with you, so you might as well use it.
Let's try to formulate a game plan here. See if he can draw something up. And maybe this is the time where we start to see High Point Christian push the ball down the field a little bit more. It doesn't seem like the wind has been super active here, at least for most parts of this first half.
It was rip-roaring across the field pregame. And I think it has settled down a little bit, but the rain expected to make its way into the area later on this evening, into the early morning, and it's not supposed to stop until Monday or Tuesday, Mark.
That's something that we know is coming. Obviously, not just this game, but games all over the state of North Carolina were bumped up to Thursday night. So it's just one of those things where everyone's preparing for that short week. And it's a challenge for everyone, not to mention whatever comes after tonight within the real world.
Richmond coming down to play Elon here on My 48 on Saturday. North Carolina A&T hosting Bryant. That game also still being played on Saturday as Johnson tried to come up with that one, and some terrific coverage was played by Andrew Abbott.
Just over the top that time. Interested to see where some of that contact was. Surprised that one didn't draw a flag, Spencer. I'll be completely honest with you. That time should have been a flag thrown on that one for pass interference.
You want to talk about a mismatch. 6'4", 220 on Mac Johnson, 5'7", buck 40, Andrew Abbott.
The math says that that's a pretty good matchup if you want to take a shot down the field for a big body.
Beautiful punt. This one fielded by Davidin. We have a flag thrown out as Davidin is tossed to the ground by DeVore. And we'll go ahead and check the flag here as the chains are being told to stay put.
It's thrown right as the tackle was being made that time by DeVore. Came really late, just an unnecessary hold if that's the case.
And so that will push the Ravens back. To the 20-yard line.
I'd be interested to see how they approach this drive, Spencer, because this is an offense that hasn't pushed the ball down the field a whole lot. They've still got 2 timeouts to work with. You got to think that they're going to start to push it a little bit further down the field in this drive to get points before half.
And this is the worst field position that the Ravens have started with all night. Hawkins dropping back, screen, completes the pass. He's got Stevenson, who's corralled down after gaining a Crescent Ford first down. Check out the newest Ford trucks at CrescentFord.com. Crescent Ford right here in High Point.
Again, got the screen working again. Stevenson getting out there and another convoy of blockers. That's exactly what you want. When you set up that screen, that is beautifully set up, and good job by Stevenson to follow his guys down the field and pick up good yardage.
William Stevenson has been a big part of the offense here this evening. As he'll take that handoff and is able to get ahead for a few. Bring that ball up to the 35.
I wonder if they're just going to be content to kind of take this thing into the locker room instead of pushing for more yards here at the end of the half.
And did you notice how old school Ned Gannett is? Doesn't even wear a headset. I mean, he just knows.
That's an old ball coach right there. But he's probably forgotten more football than we'll ever know. So.
Oh, no doubt. Option. Felton, he gets dragged down by Johnson. And that, well, looks like the clock has stopped, or it was supposed to stop. And that will do it for the half. Well, Craig Cox was over there. And actually, no, it's not the half. No, all right, so I'm not crazy, Mark. I did see Craig Cox waving for the clock to stop, and timeout was taken by Ravenscroft. So we still have 11 seconds. My old eyes have not failed me yet.
Not yet, they haven't, right?
Keyword yet.
Couldn't fool Mac Johnson on this one and add another tackle for loss to the resume. He has been a bright spot for this defense, and he has been a monster all year long.
So 11 seconds separates us from the NCDHHS halftime report. Here on Carolina Classic Fair, Friday Night Rivals, presented by Roan Law on a Thursday.
We cannot stress that enough.
And we appreciate everybody tuning in and all the accommodations that had to be made by athletic directors and administrators all over the state trying to get these games in.
Just a bit of a tough spot everywhere, and
just trying to make the best of it.
Yeah.
I hope obviously everybody is prepared and will stay safe as the storm makes its way north. Hawkins sends a man in motion. It's a reverse. And the pitch back. Hawkins looking. Heaves this one down the sideline, and it is caught. Deacon Adams came up with it. And there's a flag on the play. I believe it's going to be a hold. No, personal foul. Roughing the passer. So there's going to be an untimed down.
Oh, man. Attack it on the end of the play, too, nonetheless.
Well, so now here's... Oh, wow. Wow. Look at this. This is the third trick play we've seen out of Ravenscroft this week.
Oh, flea flicker action. You saw it right there on the back end of the play. Definitely roughing the passer. What great catch down the field by Adams.
Deacon Adams has been unbelievable tonight.
I mean, the way that he had tracked that football in the air and then bobbled it for a second, able to remain composed, concentrated, and make the catch on the second attempt was impressive.
So Pierce Davidson is on for a field goal. So it'll be a 35-yard attempt. Oh, no, now we're moving ahead.
Let's say half the distance to the goal.
So now it's a 25-yard attempt. Officially 26. And that one is up. And it is good for Pierce Davidson. So 29-0 here at the half as Ravenscroft able to march down the field and hang some more points on the board before heading to the locker room. The Carolina Classic Fair Friday Night Rivals presented by Roan Law here in High Point. It's time for the NCDHHS halftime report on My 48.
because of the wind.
And Mark, you take a look here. Ravenscroft. Got to remember, there are no locker rooms here at the High Point Athletic Complex, and so both teams will go ahead and hang out in the corners.
Just kind of
Try and
figure
it out.
Right, exactly. And I'll tell you what, High Point Christian's got some stuff to figure out here at halftime. Get back into this football game, get some points on the board.
Let's go ahead and send it down to the field. Rebecca standing by.
Thanks so much, guys. Well, Coach, 29-0 at the half. What's allowed your team to have success?
Well, again, I mean, all year long, our defense, I think they're playing well. We had a pretty good game plan going in, and we've done a good job of keeping them in control, made them punt a lot, turned the field a lot, got some short fields, and did enough on offense. We haven't been great on offense, been a little sloppy, but hit some pretty good passes, made some good decisions, mixing it up pretty good, and fortunate to get some points on the board.
You told us this week your team is confident. We see some trick plays out there, 29-0. What needs to be consistent and continue that confidence in the second half?
I just think something you probably don't see is our offensive line play. That's either going to carry us or not carry us here, and they've got it up there, and he's doing a pretty good job of protecting. Quarterbacks make some good decisions, but we can get some consistency in our offensive line with our two running backs, our skill on the perimeter, quarterback experience. I think we can move the ball up and down the field pretty consistently.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Well, when we come back, we've got our North Carolina DHHS halftime report. It's 29-0 Ravenscroft at the half. Stay with us. Our Carolina Classic game of the week. Throughout the 2022 Carolina Classic Fair Friday Night Rivals season, Bojangles will recognize an exceptional senior student athlete with a plaque presentation prior to each game. This week's Bojangles Scholar Athlete is Mary Douglas Hayworth from High Point Christian Academy. Mary Douglas Hayworth from High Point Christian Academy is a three-sport letter winner in volleyball, basketball, and softball. This past spring, she helped lead the Lady Cougar softball team to the NCISAA 3A State Championship. She is on the National Honor Society, in the Beta Club, was a junior marshal in 2021, and holds a 4.8 GPA. Mary Douglas is a member of Abbots Creek Missionary Baptist Church and volunteers on various High Point Christian Academy service projects. Mary Douglas and other nominated students are also eligible to win a $5,000 scholarship to be presented at the end of the season, courtesy of Bojangles. Bojangles proudly gives back to our community and is honored to be the sponsor of the Friday Night Rivals Scholar Student Athlete Award. Well, we welcome you back to homecoming here. for High Point Christian Academy, and we have a special guest today who's excited to talk about his school. We have Keith Curley, and this is a moment for you to really boast about your school and tell us what High Point Christian Academy is all about.
Yes, I'd be glad to. Thanks for coming out on this cold, windy night that we have right before the hurricane. I'm so thankful that we're able to get this game in and that you guys are here broadcasting us. Yes, High Point Christian Academy is a special place. When I think of High Point Christian, I think of family. I think of partnership with parents and educating our kids in a Christ-centered environment. So that's what we try to do at High Point Christian Academy.
Well, as a private school, when a student athlete graduates from High Point Christian Academy, what does their future look like?
Yeah, in fact, all of our students are really great people. We have about 60 students in each high school class. And student athletes, some go and play in college, some just go to college. But what we hope they have is a biblical foundation, a Christ-centered education that we give them here at High Point Christian Academy in order to have that.
Well, it sold you for your head football coach coming here this year, but you know, for your student athletes, what makes this program so unique?
Well, one thing that High Point Christian Academy is really unique in is we're the only private school in the Triad area that has football. And so that makes us marketable in that. But really, our student athletes get a Christian coaches are going to coach them. And so guys that are moral and guys that really want to get to our kids' hearts. And so that's what we can offer at High Point Christian Academy.
And for a family who is interested in learning more about High Point Christian Academy, what should they do?
Yeah, they should contact our admission office at 841-8702 or get online, www.hpcacougars.org. And we'd be glad to give them a tour of our facilities and be glad to talk to them about High Point Christian Academy.
All right, our walking billboard for High Point Christian Academy. Thanks you so much for your time, Keith Curley, and enjoy this homecoming and on a Thursday for Friday Night Rivals. We appreciate your time.
All right, thank you. Go Cougars.
Go Cougars. Well, when we come back on the other side, it's our Carolina Classic Fair game. First half highlights and stats. Our Friday Night Rivals on My 48 for right after this. Welcome back to Friday Night Rivals on My 48 on a Thursday night. Right now, we're getting set for our pretzel stacking contest, hosted by the Carolina Classic Fair. Giant pretzels are one of everyone's favorite foods. I know they are for me. So There's so much more fun, exciting, and new foods debuting at the fair this year. The Carolina Classic Fair is entering its 140th year and will be held at the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds on September 30th through October 6th. That's coming up right here. There'll be the Ridin' Rockin' livestocking with the same fair traditions along with new entertainment and attractions. The Carolina Classic Fair recently announced their concert series lineup for the fair. Monday, October 3rd, with Rob Bass and CNC Music Factory. Tuesday, October 4th, will be with Nico Moon, Restless Road, and Frank Ray. Wednesday, October 5th, will be the Wren Collective and Christopher Paul. The fair also welcomes returning entertainment, including the rodeo, demolition derby, local music performances at the Clock Tower stage, and more. Visit CarolinaClassicFair.com and download their app for updates. Well, that'll do it. We've got our winner for the pretzel stacking contest right here. Congratulations. Thanks for watching. Next up, we've got My Spot Medical Timeout, your spot for COVID-19 protection from our halftime sponsor, NCDHHS.
We need a new booster because we know that the COVID-19 virus continues to change over time as it continues to spread in our country and around the world. The new boosters give us all better protection against the COVID strains of the virus that we now see in our communities. The new COVID-19 boosters are safe and even more effective against the types of COVID-19 that we now see in our communities. These COVID-19 updated boosters take into account some of these newer strains that we've been seeing in the country and give us stronger protection. The boosters, just like the original vaccines, have gone through rigorous clinical trials to make sure that they're number one, safe, and number two, importantly, effective. And again, we've seen that they are even more effective against the types of strains that we see now circulating in our communities. You can think about these new COVID-19 vaccine boosters like the flu shots that we get each year. The reason that we need to get a flu shot each year is because the type of flu virus that we see in our communities changes each year. We're lucky to have vaccine manufacturers that can now better match the vaccines to the types of viruses that we see in our community. So just like we've done for flu, now with COVID-19, we have a vaccine booster that better matches the types of COVID-19 virus that we see now.
The door is ajar.
Welcome back to the NCDHHS Halftime Report. Earlier this week, we visited with DJ Hargrave, event and brand manager at the Carolina Classic Fair, to get ready for opening day on Saturday.
So some of the special deals and promotions this year at the Carolina Classic Fair are number one, for opening day on Friday, September 30th, we have the Welcome Back promotion where you can get $5 admission to the fair. We also have something new this year with $2 Tuesday where you get $2 admission. Each ride is $2, and we'll have select food items from certain food vendors be $2 as well. Also through September 29th, which is Thursday at midnight, you can save up to 33% off of your fair admission tickets and unlimited ride wristbands. You can do all that through our website and the Carolina Classic Fair app. So what people can expect this year at the fair is some of the old along with some of the new. What I mean by the old is some of the traditions that you're used to at the fair, the candy apples, the turkey legs, the cotton candy, the foods that we've all come to love at the Carolina Classic Fair. But you can also expect some new things. You know, we have new modern entertainment. We have concerts this year, Monday through Wednesday at the fair. We have Nico Moon, Rod Basin, CSC Music Factory, Ren Collective, all coming to the grandstand for concerts this year. We have alligator wrestling, which is new at the fair this year, and just a lot of new food and entertainment for the families to enjoy this year at the Carolina Classic Fair. For details on what you can expect prior to your trip to the Carolina Classic Fair, you can go to carolinaclassicfair.com, and you can also download our Carolina Classic Fair app. That's where you'll find a full list of food vendors, rides, a map of the fair, and everything you need to know fair related prior to your visit.
Well, Coach, getting ready for the second half of play. What did you address with your team at the half?
Just effort, finishing. You know, young team, going gets tough. How do you respond? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Some costly penalties once in a while. Third down. You got to win third down. That's something we express all the time. It's an emphasis at practice. It has to be executed in the game. And so hats off. They're playing really well right now. There's a reason why they're 6-0, doing a great job there. But we've just got to have better effort and execution on third down.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time. Best of luck. Guys?
Thank you, Rebecca, and head coach Ryan Rocha of the High Point Christian Academy Cougars. It has been a tough go for the Cougars in the first half. Just 4 yards of total offense to go along with those 3 penalties while allowing 291 yards, 256 of them through the air. And I got to tell you, Mark, that's the biggest surprise number to me, because you and I on the field pregame were like, man, I don't know if these guys are going to be able to throw the football tonight.
Well, we kind of talked about how they would do that. Like, if you're really insistent on throwing the football, how do you make sure you have that success still? They've done it well. It's been those short out routes where they haven't been throwing the ball further down the field, and they need to. And they've been picking and choosing their spots when they do take those shots, and they were effective mostly in the first half when putting the football in the air.
Well, and also having Kyle Hawkins as your quarterback, that'll help.
It's not bad, right?
Not a bad thing. We're going to go ahead and take a quick timeout here on the Carolina Classic Fair Friday Night Rivals, presented by Roan Law on this Thursday night in High Point. We're back after this on My 48. Carolina Classic Fair Friday Night Rivals presented by Roan Law on this Thursday evening, with Hurricane Ian making its way to the triad, and you see Kyle Hawkins spreading the ball around, not letting the wind affect him. He has been fantastic in this one. Just completely on fire. 14 of 17 through the air, 256 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, storm's been brewing, but that offense of the Ravens so far here tonight, they have got it going on all phases. Only 35 rushing yards in the first half, but when they have run, it has had some oomph to it. And they have pick and shows when they want to attack down the field. You see it there as Kalinsky is able to punch it in on the long pass down the field.
The most amazing part to me, Mark, is there have been 7 different Ravens that have touched the football other than Kyle Hawkins in this ball game. Everybody on this offense is contributing.
Well, that's spreading the wealth, right? If you know you have that kind of versatility offensively and you can get those guys involved, and it's going to help your offense produce yards, be more efficient, get points on the board, that's exactly what you're going to do. And that's exactly what they did in the first half, as Ravenscroft was really almost able to move the football down the field at will.
And Gannett, happy to see his team winning, but I can't say he seems 100% pleased. But maybe when he sees the stats and watches the film, he'll feel a little bit better, as this one is muffed by Jaquan Clay. And he was able to fall on it, secure the football, and the Cougars will start with the football here in half number 2.
Well, it's got to be about Isaiah Quick getting that football out and on time to his targets, and his guys up front giving him the time to throw that football down the field. But there is one thing you could say. They gave him enough protection for the most part in the first half. It's just about Quick recognizing what kind of defense is set up and where to attack them with the football.
And that's awfully tough against this Ravenscroft team, allowing just 16.2 points per game this season. DeVore takes it, tries to spin out, and he is met by a flock of Ravens as Owen Fincher will come in and finish the play. And you see Kukulinski hobbling off. That would be a big loss for this Ravens team.
He's kind of caught up in there, but DeVore just not able to get anything there. And you see Kukulinski get him down. I wonder if he just kind of got rolled up on that time. He was hobbling to get up, but able to still get up under his own power and still standing on the sideline, so that's good.
Just a little shaken up. He'll check things out, shake it off, and come on back in.
Absolutely.
Here's Quick. Keeps it on the ground, and DeVore is pinned down by Stevenson.
This is a tough play in the backfield. Getting downhill. And that's running back on running back violence right there. Stevenson coming off the edge, attacking the pulling lineman that time. Able to make the play in the backfield for another loss.
I got to tell you, this front for Ravenscroft, not as heralded as the front for High Point Christian.
Yeah.
But they have been awfully effective tonight. Not much has even reached the linebackers when you're talking about this defense.
Right, and you know, you're looking at a team where the most they've given up this year is 34 points. Then you look 8, 13, 26, and then forfeit last week. They don't give up many points, and they're not on the field for a long time.
Quick fires towards the sideline and leads his receiver a little too long, and a flag is thrown as A.J. Peterson might have gotten tangled up just a smidge with Garrett Weldner.
I think maybe he grabbed some of that jersey that time, maybe a hold. And they'll call it pass interference against Peterson. I don't know if it was maybe a physical play down the field, a little bit of hand fighting.
We'll get another look here. Pressure was on. Quick flings it.
I don't know about that one.
Back up!
The thing is, he's got his hand right there. Maybe he got a little tug of the jersey, that right shoulder.
On to the next one.
Yeah. Weldner got the separation, though, so Peterson got himself out of place.
And Quick with another decent-looking football.
Oh, yeah, and a good play, too, because you know that pressure is coming off the right side. You know that's coming. Got to get that football away. Accurate pass down the field again that time, just a little bit of interference.
Limbacher brushes off the first tackler and is brought down by Joey Brooks. HPCA trying to avenge 2 straight losses here this season. Last season, dropped this ball game against Ravenscroft 21-14. In 2019, this was a 2 overtime thriller, 28-21 victory for the Cougars. And High Point Christian had actually knocked off Ravenscroft 4 in a row before last season.
Obviously, a couple of pretty well-met teams know each other very well. These programs have a history with each other. Ravenscroft just seems maybe like a different animal this year altogether. They have been on a roll and has shown up here tonight as well.
Closed captioning for tonight's ball game is brought to you by Caring Hands. Caring Hands Home Health. Your family's needs are our top priority when they're in our care.
Nailed it.
That's why they pay me the big bucks.
Is that what they tell you?
Here's Limbacher, and he gets driven down again by Brooks. Joey Brooks, the middle linebacker. When he sees the opportunity to actually make a play, he hasn't had much of that tonight. And not because he hasn't tried, but because those front 3 have done their job. He has been like, man, give me that ball. He's like a dog fetching a bone.
Absolutely, just like shot out of a cannon. You see him right there attacking and closing in on the football. That's what you got to do. When you're back there on defense, you got to seek that football out. And once you get to that point, you got to be a missile to it. Straight line speed, and when you get there, be violent.
Punt is off. Another solid high kick. Fair catch signal, and it'll hit DeVore on the backside. And it will be marked down at the 47-yard line.
At the 49-yard line.
Excuse me, 49-yard line.
So it did hit DeVore, but it rolled backwards towards the original line of scrimmage, so they'll mark it down where he recovered the football. If he had touched the football and it went further into Ravenscroft territory, it would have been marked down where it was touched. Yep. But those extra 4 yards right there, courtesy of DeVore.
And so the Ravens will start on the Cougar side of the field. Here's Hawkins. And he leads his receiver, Peterson, just a smidge too far. So the Ravens in control here, 29-0 in the third quarter on a brisk night in High Point. I got to tell you, Mark, this is the first time really all season it has felt like football weather here in the region.
Yeah, very suddenly, huh? It was pretty nice last week when we were at East Forsyth for their game against Davie County, but obviously the weather being what it is kind of rolled in some cooler weather here tonight. It's a bit chilly.
How about Todd Willard's ball club? I mean, those Eagles, they're really good every year, but my goodness, Todd Willard's team, they seem to be a potentially special bunch, as Aiden Whitehead was unable to bring that one in.
I'll tell you what, that's a monster that's brewing out there in Kernersville right now. And the scary thing is they have so much room still to improve. You know, Coach Willard was telling us last week penalties were a big issue. Saw it rear its head last week, but it was 56-21, so not really much of an issue there. But if they can get those taken care of, it doesn't matter who it is playing against them. That road is more than likely going to run through Kernersville, North Carolina, in the Western Division of the 4A playoffs.
Hawkins heaves this one down the sideline, and he leads David in towards the out-of-bounds marker and unable to make the play. It'll bring up fourth down.
It kind of feels like a long time since we saw Kyle Hawkins, this offense on the field, and maybe a little bit of rust coming out of halftime. That pass has been on the money all night long for Kyle Hawkins, just not able to connect there. I know he's going to be missing that one, because if that one hits, they might still be running.
Deacon Adams on to punt. And we have a whistle and a timeout. High Point Christian will go ahead and take the timeout, and Ryan Rocha does not look happy.
believe when your coach is out past the numbers towards the middle of the field, that's not a good sign, right?
No, not at all. And while we take time out here, we'll take one too on my 48.
Cheerleaders, thank you so much for sending out the t-shirts. We need to work on your dancing skills, however.
You don't know I'm using chicken. Is your back hurting you today? No, it's better.
Our score in High Point, 29-0 Ravenscroft. Well, I talked about it in the open with our rookie and vet coaches here today, with Ned Gannett from Ravenscroft having such a tenure at Ravenscroft. Well, he's got a bit of a history. The same guy who recommended him for the job here at Ravenscroft is the same guy that recommended Coach K at Duke. Ned Gannett played baseball and football at Duke, and he says he's an old school blue collar guy. He played for Mike McGee when he first got to Duke, and he says he was a hard-nosed guy, but that's what he enjoyed. He was straight up with you, he pushed you, he challenged you, and that was Coach Gannett's foundation of how he approached his coaching. He says you got to know the fundamentals, you got to work hard, you got to develop a work ethic and go out there and give it your best each week. So Tom Butters is the guy that recommended Gannett at Ravenscroft, that also recommended Coach K at Duke. And hey, look, both of them had pretty good careers as Gannett wraps up his career at the end of this year. Hasn't quite hit him that retirement is right now. He's hoping to slip out the back door, but people around him are not allowing him to do that. He doesn't know what he's going to do in his free time, though. He's still staying on as AD. He's still a fan of sports, driving buses around, helping other teams. Going to show up to games and just be a fan. You know, for 57 straight falls, he hasn't had the chance to just sit, relax, be a fan. Sometimes that might be hard in retirement, though. But, guys, pretty good career for Ned Gannett.
It sure has been, and he's reaching deep into the playbook tonight. That's the 4th trick play that we have seen, and you know, to me, that's just a coach trying to go out there and have fun on his last trip around the circuit. And he was joking. He didn't want the Coach K retirement tour. That's what he said to us early on, and he said that his head of school told him he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah, no kidding. When you've been around that long, you've had the success that Coach Gannett has had. I mean, you're going to get your roses. You'll get to smell them along the way. You might even get your cake and eat it too. So it's just one of those things where you have a legacy that's ending, a legendary career that's ending within the state of North Carolina. And we see them almost every week, Spencer, with these guys that have been somewhere for so long. They're tenured. They've got all this experience, this wealth of knowledge. And kind of like we said earlier in the broadcast, Coach Gannett's probably forgotten more about football than we'll ever hope to know.
And listen, we pointed it out earlier, but when your head coach doesn't wear a headset, that's all you need to know.
It's old school, man.
That is old school.
That is a football coach.
Quick. Throws it up the seam, and it is broken up by Williams. He kept that celebration a little tighter this time.
And he knows it, too. He's trying to dial it back a little bit. That was a really nice play, though, by Donnie Williams. To stick his hand in there. Didn't really have position on the receiver that time, but that was a great job to get inside, just get a hand in there and break up the pass. Really nice play by Donnie Williams.
He was able to prevent John Blaylock from coming down with that one.
He's been impressive here in coverage tonight. Has not allowed much to his side. Now, be it except for the one unsportsmanlike conduct penalty in the first half, he has been lights out on the edge when getting those one-on-one matchups.
Stay tuned. In the fourth quarter, we'll have our West Rock scoring summary. West Rock, your local leader in paper, packaging, and displays. Come join our team at jobs.westrock.com. And coming up in the fourth quarter, stay tuned to find out who's tonight's Carolina Classic Fair Player of the Game. The Carolina Classic Fair riding, rocking, live stocking. And we'll also have the Roan Law Play of the Game. Roan Law fights and has the results to prove it.
October 1st through October 9th. You can download Carolina.
And how about this, Mark? This was the first time that the Cougars have been in enemy territory on the evening.
It's no exaggeration to say it's been a bit of a struggle here in this one. The offense hasn't been able to get much of anything going. This defense has been attacking. And again, in a week where you're short because of Hurricane Ian closing in on the Carolinas, that's a tough assignment.
Going for it on fourth down, and that one broken up along the sideline as A.J. Peterson with the tremendous coverage.
Just one-on-one matchup again to the outside. Isaiah Quick giving his guys a chance, though, to go get that football in the air. See right there, though, the inside position further down the field. Peterson just did a good job technique-wise, stay inside, batted that football down. Great play at the cornerback spot by A.J. Peterson.
So it'll be a turnover on downs, 1st and 10 for Ravenscroft. Hawkins keeps it himself and is across the 40 to the 41. Solid gain on 1st down for the senior quarterback. Doesn't run the ball very much, averages just 4 yards per carry, has 3 touchdowns on the ground this year. But tonight it has been about his performance through the air. Awfully impressive.
Well, and this is a guy who's got a pretty impressive touchdown to interception ratio. You're talking coming into the game, 11 touchdowns, 3 picks on the year. So he protects the football. He's effective when he puts it in the air. He's just one of those guys that's a playmaker. Natural born leader for this offense, has the size, the stature. It's all there. He's just got to continue to improve.
Inside handoff to Felton. He rumbles his way across midfield and into the Cougars' den. That's a Crescent Ford 1st down. Crescent Ford of High Point, serving the Triad since 1970.
Big Felton just running down the field there. Good cut up field, follows his blockers, and that one cut ability right there. A little zone run action for you. Getting upfield and getting those yards yet again.
Comes up, even has the grass in his face mask.
Old school.
Doesn't matter.
Right? I love that. Corey Felton making a play yet again for this offense out of the backfield.
The end around, the handoff to Peterson. He's still going to the 40, down the sideline 30, and he's angled out of bounds just ahead of the 20-yard line. A tremendous run for A.J. Peterson.
There's the confidence again, rearing its head. A.J. Peterson causes a turnover on downs on 4th down defensively. Now comes into the game, takes the handoff in motion right here and look to cut upfield, breaks a tackle, another tackle, and then gets out along the edge for another long gain. This offense back in form.
And yet another Crescent Ford 1st down. Crescent Ford of High Point, serving the Triad since 1970.
They're electric, aren't they?
They sure are.
In so many different ways, the way they utilize the football and are creative with their play calling.
Play action, Hawkins over the middle. He finds Kukulinski. He's still chugging and is finally brought down. That's another Crescent Ford 1st down as Payne Kukulinski was able to drag the pile.
Just watch this thing right here. Catches the football, goes up over the top that time. And that's just strength. Just get off me. Just wrestling with guys along the back end. These DBs can't bring him down. Kukulinski already has a touchdown this game. And using that frame to get more yards after contact.
Option. The pitch to Stevenson. Turns upfield, and he is in. 4-6. Touchdown, Ravens. And that's another Riddle tractor touchdown. Riddle tractor making tall grass short.
A tall order for this defense here tonight, and they have not been able to respond or stop this offense whatsoever. A good pitch relationship there between Hawkins and Stevenson, and finds pay dirt yet again. Does number 33 in green, white, and gold.
Pierce Davidson able to split the uprights again. And it is 36-0. On the option, Stevenson finds pay dirt, rolls over the Cougars as the Ravens continue to roll here on homecoming night in High Point. It's time to recognize tonight's Scream Dreams fan of the game. There's a new haunt in town. Scream Dreams is the Triad's only world-class indoor haunted attraction. Almost Halloween time. Oh my God.
Sorry. I just had a Scream Dream.
And I got to tell you, this Ravenscroft offense starting to scare this High Point Christian Academy defense. 5 plays, 63 yards, and a $158 on the last trip down the field.
Been scary good here tonight, right? They have been a machine that has been able to pick up right where they have left off at the beginning of the season. They are on top of their game here tonight. Slow start to the second half, but able to round back into form on that last drive.
That is for certain, and it has been a tough night for the Cougars. Benny Limbacher there. He's been Mr. Everything for this squad.
And look, it's 36-0. Of course, you want to give the roses to Ravenscroft. But again, as we talked about throughout the broadcast, this is a young team here at High Point Christian, and you can see those areas where they can grow, and the playmakers are here. Don't get it twisted. They've got guys here that can make plays. It's just about getting them to understand the system, make plays. Look at this.
Big hole for DeVore, and he is able to get out ahead to the 42-yard line, and that'll be good for a Crescent Ford first down. Crescent Ford of High Point serving the Triad since 1970.
That's what we're talking about right there. When you got a guy who averages over 8 yards a carry running the football, he hasn't had much. There's big guys up front opening a lane for him to run through. Could have run through there with an F-150, right?
That, or I think you and I could have driven a Ford truck through that hole.
Probably. 2 different ones, right? Side by side. Great job by the big guys up front.
DeVore again, and this time he's met by that flock of Ravens. Let's go ahead and send it down to the sideline. Rebecca Fiorentino standing by.
Well, you guys mentioned the big guys up front, and sometimes the O-linemen don't get all the love in the world, but we want to give some love to number 75, PJ Neckram. Coach says he is the heart and soul of this team, not just the O-line, but the entire team. He's the nicest kid, and he's a homeschool kid. So this is his first and last year playing with High Point Christian Academy. There's a couple kids on this team who played high school, or who are homeschooled and now can play in the high school system, as this is the first year that the homeschool system is allowed to play in the high school system. So he's grateful to have guys like PJ Neckram on his team, and he's the first one at practice. He's always there hyping up the guys, and just the heart and soul of this team.
I'm sorry, did Rebecca say sometimes offensive linemen don't get the notoriety?
Yeah, she did.
That's all the time, man. We're always misunderstood.
Listen, just unless there's a mistake, you do not hear.
Then it's highlighted. But if you don't hear anything,
unless you and I are in the booth,
well,
then
yeah,
we show them some love.
Well, exactly, and that's what we're going to do here because they've been really good here tonight.
They have been.
They have been, and realistically, they've given Quick enough time to pass back there. He's had comfortable pockets for the most part to sit in, and now here on this drive, DeVore has been able to find some room to run with finally in this game. So you got to give the credit there. Again, when we talk about the youth and where they're at in their development, they're going to get there, but it starts with those 5 guys up front moving as one, and once they get going, it creates a lot of opportunity for this offense.
2 sophomores and a junior on this offensive line to go along with 2 seniors. But you have a sophomore center in Cooper Weisner. I mean, that is a head coach's dream.
Absolutely.
To have a young guy that's able to snap the football that you can count on for the next few years.
Who's got to be the guy that sets everyone else up, who surveys that defense, is able to get them in position to make those plays.
DeVore bounces off the first tackle, still trying to chug, and the initial spot is very close to that first down marker. It'll put a 3 in the box with less than a yard to go.
Tough running there by DeVore.
I think you got to keep giving it to him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Here late game stages, if you want to continue to develop, the game is more than likely out of hand at this point, but you want to continue to get those guys development and reps and allow them to continue to work. Continue to build that mindset by continuing to push and push and push until the clock strikes 0 in the fourth quarter.
And after a measurement, it is a crescent forward first down. That was what you initially told me. They marked it a 3 in the box, and then they decided to go ahead and change it. So this offense continues to move down the field. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep handing it to DeVore.
Absolutely. It's a tough runner. I'm telling you, 190 pounds is not stopping him right now. He is running like a man possessed on this drive, carrying defenders with him, gaining those extra yards. He has been a man on a mission, Ethan DeVore has.
I mean, listen, you lose a really tough one at Asheville Christian back on the 9th, 33-31. And then you go to Covenant Day and you lose 42-0. You don't want to be shut out 2 weeks in a row. And so DeVore, as a leader, doing anything he can to try and find the end zone here. And that penalty will not help the cause.
Sure won't. Especially when you're staying on track, on schedule on this drive. You are running with a purpose. You are getting those yards when you need to, and you're not shooting yourself in the foot. And now you have those 5 yards. They could be costly. We don't know, right? So 2nd and 9, you go from 2nd and 4 to 2nd and 9. That's a huge difference in your play calling.
The pitch. DeVore pulling the pile. He just keeps those legs moving, Mark.
And it's just the activeness in the way he moves, too. You talk about a guy who's going to be spinning and working his feet and continue to drive them. But he's an all-around kind of back, it seems like, right? He's got the power and he's got the finesse, too, spinning and juking his way down the field. And then when he needs to make contact, he's initiating it. I mean, he's lowering the shoulder and getting down the field and getting those yards after contact because he is initiating it and he is making it happen.
Brings up 3rd and 6. DeVore again. And he is stopped right around the 40-yard line. And if you're Ryan Rocha, you're probably letting the clock wind down to the end of the quarter, but do you go ahead and go for it here? I think you have to, right?
At this point in the game, yeah. If you're trying to instill that championship mindset in this roster and these kids and allowing them to develop, you've got to go for it here.
So it'll be 4th and 3. The Cougars look content to let this clock wind down as we head to the 4th quarter here in High Point. It's all Ravenscroft here on the Carolina Classic Fair. Friday Night Rivals presented by Roan Law on a Thursday. Stevenson rumbling to the end zone. He can't be stopped. Back with you here in High Point. It has been all Ravenscroft in this one. Closed captioning for tonight's game being brought to you by Caring Hands. Caring Hands Home Health. Your family's needs are our top priority when they're in our care. And now, after the penalty, the offense will trot off the field and the punt unit will be on. And Mark, these are the mistakes that we were talking about earlier that you can't make when you're trying to play a team like Ravenscroft. Just unfortunate for this High Point Christian team as they continue to try and work through their youth movement.
Right there. Yeah.
Fielded by Peterson, and he's wrapped up and brought down by who else but DeVore, who on that last drive, had 6 carries for 29 yards. It was 29 of the 49 total yards of offense gained by High Point Christian, and we'll send it down to the sideline for an update.
We've got more on DeVore. You guys were talking about him on the offense, and we just saw him right there. Well, Coach Rocha had him at a speed and agility camp over the summer, and he helped him, and he enjoyed it. And he said, man, I may want to do this coaching when I get there, get down the road. Well, he loves the bubbly personality that Ethan always shows, and he's been working on his leadership to bring it to that next level. And, you know, when to say something, when not to say something, when to pull someone aside and talk to them one-on-one. That's my guy. He always has a smile on his face, and we asked him in our coaches meeting, you know, what is it about him that you really want to see more of? And it's just that leadership, and he's a captain here in this game today.
He's been absolutely tremendous tonight. Developing a leader like that is going to be so important as this program continues to grow under Ryan Rocha, who, you know, put his blind faith into this program as well. He came here, didn't know much about the team itself, but felt destined to be here and to try and help this program along. 5 on the play clock now for Hawkins. He's going to have to snap this one quickly. Just gets it off. Flings it towards the outside. And that one is complete to Nolan Dirks for a couple.
Kind of seems like this defense has settled in a little bit here in the second half. They're not allowing those receivers to get those free releases off the line where they're just running free on those short out routes. See, that time, not much room to work with, and that's because you look at the closing speed. Able to tack them down. Campbell, Throckmorton. It's a good tackle in space that time.
That's a football name.
That's a name right there, man.
Campbell Throckmorton.
That is a name right there.
That is a football name, no doubt.
Got me messed up.
Play action, and that is broken up. Josh Smith, the middle linebacker, came flying in there around the edge. Boom, right there.
Looped right around. Good blitz that time. And Hawkins had nowhere to go, just ran right into the blitz. It's an excellent play call defensively. Give Smith credit right there to be able to stick it in there. Make a big hit on the quarterback, Hawkins, and make a play.
Josh Smith's second game of the season. This one, nice booming kick. And it will take a slight Ravens roll and be downed at the 42-yard line. So that High Point Christian Academy offense will come back out onto the field, trailing 36-0 here in the fourth quarter.
Well, they've certainly been building a little bit here in the second half. Saw DeVore kind of running a little bit more freely on that last drive. The offensive line opening up some holes for him to run through. And I would assume that they're going to continue to work towards that. Maybe sprinkle in a pass from Isaiah Quick, your quarterback, as well.
So 1st and 10 from the 42. Weldner, the motion man. The handoff to DeVore, and he's able to fall forward for a gain of 6.
It's just the low leverage that he runs with, just running behind the shoulder pads and allowing them to do the talking at the end of those runs, finishing them off, falling forward and getting those yards. Been very impressed by Ethan DeVore here tonight.
And the thing that strikes me about this Cougars ball club, Mark, is the fact that, I mean, they have gotten beaten in each facet of the game tonight, and yet they haven't quit. I mean, they're still playing hard. They are out there hustling. There is no quit in this team. That says a lot about a young squad. Here's Weldner. He's got some room to operate and is dragged down from behind at the 35. That's a Crescent Ford first down for High Point Christian. Crescent Ford of High Point, we keep you rolling the same way that Garrett Weldner is keeping this drive rolling.
Yeah, they've actually run that play to Weldner a few times in this game, a few times in the first half. And it didn't really go anywhere. This time, Weldner just burst to get through those defenders, find a lane, and exploit it for a big gain that time. The biggest gain of the night so far for this High Point Christian offense.
So 1st and 10 from the 35. Inside handoff to Limbacher. He'll cut it up and is down to the 32. So a gain of 3 on first down. It'll bring up 2nd and 7.
Good sound play that time by Limbacher. Get upfield, get a few yards. Now three yards on that first down, so that's not a bad gain. You stay on track here on 2nd down. Allows you to open up that playbook a little bit more, knowing that you don't have as much yardage to go to pick up the first.
Weldner, the motion man. The handoff to DeVore. Skips around the first tackler, and he earns himself another Crescent Ford first down. Crescent Ford of High Point, we keep you rolling.
He may not have gotten touched until that tackle was made either. Look at the big guys up front. The lane right here opens up, and then the vision by DeVore to get through there, the jumps cut, and then getting overside and switching your hands as far as where the football is at. The instinct is all there. Perfect run by DeVore and this offensive line. They were cooking on that play.
That was fantastic running by the junior. And this is the first time that the HPCA offense has entered the red zone.
I love the fact that they still call it the red zone.
Limbacher took that contact head on and was able to gain a few.
Another tough run up the middle. You could see that's where this offense wants to go. This is what they were predicated on. This is exactly what they wanted to do coming into this game. We knew that. And there was kind of the inclination, Spencer, that maybe they could be a little more competitive in this game than they have been tonight because of the way the weather was throughout the day. Windy, you don't know how it's going to be out throughout the night. Just hasn't really turned out their way.
And what's most interesting to me is DeVore will take the handoff, and he's met by a group of Ravens, is that Ravenscroft's defense, their base defense, is typically a nickel. Tonight, they've had at least 7, mostly 8 in the box. They were prepared for this rushing attack the entire night.
And it's no secret.
I mean, listen, it's all on film.
Well,
it's not
exactly. You've got as much film as you want to, and now in a season where we're now several weeks in at this point, you've got enough film to know this is this team's identity at the high school level. This is exactly what they want to do. This is what they're going to do. High Point Christian likes to run the football, so you've got to have the bodies in the box to make those plays.
Limbacher in as the option quarterback, and he is able to end the scoreless drought at 7.5 quarters. That's a Riddle Tractor touchdown. Riddle Tractor making tall grass short.
This was a very well-designed play. Just a beautiful play call and great execution up front. You see, again, pulling guards this time. Limbacher follows them, sheds a tackle in the backfield, and there was no one home for the Ravens on the back end of that one. An excellent call. Limbacher following his blockers. Finds the end zone for the first score tonight for the Cougars.
Benny Limbacher, his 4th touchdown of the season. Snap is off, hold is down, kick is good. 36-7, Ravenscroft still in the lead, but High Point Christian finds the end zone for the first time tonight. Benny Limbacher in to the end zone for the 4th time this season. You're tuned in to the Carolina Classic Fair Friday Night Rivals, presented by Roan Law. Back with you here in High Point. Benny Limbacher able to convert for the first time on 3rd down for High Point Christian. 0 for 8 before that to cap off a 7-play, 58-yard drive in 3 minutes and 43 seconds. And you know what? That's a big confidence boost here on homecoming for the Cougars.
Just continue to play and play and play, and you'll find success. At some point, all the effort has to pay off, and it did on that drive. It was a very efficient drive, too.
A pooch kick for David Green. That ball is live, and it is covered up at the 30-yard line by the Ravens.
It's kind of one of those pooch kicks that kind of lands in no man's land, and someone's got to get on top of it because that's a live ball.
It was a live ball, and how about this, Mark? You and I spoke earlier today about how thick the grass was. That just accepted the ball, and it just poof right there.
It just kind of died, right? So fortunate to, maybe not fortunate, but way to react to it, fall on top of that football, and now we get our first look at Jacob Gilbert in the game.
6'1" sophomore. 3 for 4 this season, 31 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Minus 11 yards on the ground. He goes under center to start this drive off.
Oh, man. Josh Smith again.
Andrew Abbott, the junior, and he got absolutely planted. Boom.
It's Josh Smith again. Had a big hit on the last drive, too, so you can see when he gets to the football, he does it with purpose. Smith has made his name here in the 4th quarter. 6'3", 220. It's a big sophomore, man.
Yes, it is. And that's one thing I will say about Ryan Roach's program is there are those glimpses and there are those bodies that you see out there that you're like, man, they're going to have a chance here in a couple years. As Gilbert couldn't handle that snap, and he's able to cover that back up. But you know what? This is good for Coach Gannett as well to get his young quarterback some reps under center, figure this thing out in a varsity ball game. And he made the right play there, was able to get back on top of it.
Yep, lived to play another down. Just get back on top of it and preserve the drive.
Use up this clock. And I'll tell you, Mark, it's impressive to me that these quarterbacks can go shotgun and under center. You do not see that very often in high school or in college these days.
Oh, and you got a coach like Coach Gannett. That's going to be your guy who's saying, hey, we still need to go under center.
Gilbert over the middle, and that one is dropped by Eichler. That was a beautiful pass by the sophomore, and it'll put a 4 in the box, and the punt unit will trot onto the field.
Maybe fortuitous that ball was not knocked up into the air and intercepted, fell harmlessly to the turf.
For the Ravens.
But it was a good pass. Very catchable football. Got to come down with that one. Again, you want to continue to develop, and doesn't just count for the High Point Christian side. It's also for Ravenscroft. They have to continue to develop.
Deacon Adams gets that one off. Limbacher with no return.
And the ball comes out of bounds at the 45-yard line.
Officiating crew going to walk this thing up. Midfield and into Ravenscroft territory. So from the 49, that's where the Cougars will begin this drive.
I see him back out there. Number 2 in blue.
Feed the beast, baby.
Yeah. We were kind of joking before the game. Hey, navy and white helmets, navy jerseys, white pants. Got the piping, the stripes, everything.
It's BYU Junior.
Yeah, right? Cougars. Just missing the mascot, Cosmo, right?
Definitely need him out here. Weldner, nowhere to go. He is wrapped up and brought down by Nolan Dirks. And there's a flag on the play, and Weldner is down on the turf.
Number 14.
Check on the flag here.
So we'll get a look.
Weldner seems like he wants to get up.
It'll be holding on High Point Christian. That one is declined.
Yeah, take a look here. A little bit of a hold. Right there, almost at the point of attack, potentially.
Yeah, I see Zach Roberts. He's the tight end. He's the one who got called for the hold. And Weldner came down on his shoulder.
That would be a loss. I mean, for sure. And just a sophomore, Weldner's been able to make some catches here, make a few plays. On the last drive, had the long gain on a screen pass, too. So he's a playmaker for this offense. They need him out there. Not just this week, but beyond. You want to continue to develop, get better, and find out who your guys are. Weldner appears to be one of those guys.
(36-7) here in High Point. It is 2nd and long. Quick, surveying, floats this one towards the sideline. Limbacher, and he'll draw the pass interference. He had his man beat.
He did have his man beat, just hanging in there. Coaches will normally tell you, hey, if you're going to give up a touchdown, give it 15. We'll gladly take that every day of the week. But Limbacher able to get behind that defense, streaking down the field. Another pretty good pass by Quick again.
Again, we've mentioned it. I know we're starting to sound like a broken record here, but you're seeing glimpses.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what it is right now, because it's not, outside of one drive tonight, it hasn't been a completely consistent product. It's been those glimpses, it's been those spurts, but that's encouraging. That's something you can work with. The pieces are there. Just have to continue to work with them, shape them, and mold them into a better football team. So the pass there.
Limbacher on the ground, and he helicoptered his way down to the grass there at around the 31.
Another solid run there by Limbacher. Another hard runner between Limbacher and DeVore tonight. They've got two guys who run the ball pretty aggressively. Not just that, they run it with vision, with a purpose.
2nd and 2 now for the Cougars. Limbacher gets the call again, and he earns himself a Crescent Ford first down. Crescent Ford of High Point serving the Triad since 1970.
See right there, he wanted to cut it back outside to the right. Saw a defender sitting there, so just takes it up the middle. Just able to pick up a few extra yards at the end here. Watch him kind of look outside to the right and then comes back in, realizing he doesn't have anywhere else to go.
And how about this? How about DeVore in there as a blocking back?
Yeah.
I mean, not afraid to get dirty.
Well, they're both in the backfield right now. They are still out there wide, and we actually have a little bit of a trick formation here. Quick's in the slot.
So some wildcat as Quick will be the motion man. Limbacher, the keeper. He's got some room to operate and is taken down inside the red zone. That wildcat play, we've seen it twice tonight. First time ended up in the end zone. Now you're into the red zone.
Well, finally getting back on track into the red zone. Watch here. Limbacher, good fake that time. Good job reading the defense, pulling it, and then getting upfield, following your blocks. A big seam to him for him to run through.
Good for another Crescent Ford first down.
Got a nice little running performance here in the second half between Limbacher and DeVore. They have been terrific, especially here in the fourth.
And that's the bread and butter of this Cougar team. It is ground and pound.
It's a simple formula, but if they can beat you doing it, they will.
Limbacher changes fields, and he is in to the end zone. Touchdown, High Point Christian on the third effort. And that's a Riddle Tractor touchdown. Riddle Tractor making tall grass short.
How about the effort? No better word there. Look at Limbacher fighting off defenders, trying to reach, get there, and just gets across the plane of the goal line. Way to stretch out, know where you're at on the field, and get that ball across.
High Point Christian making it interesting here in the fourth quarter. Green on for the extra point, splits the uprights. Benny Limbacher finding the end zone for the second time tonight. The extra effort, getting it done here on Friday Night Rivals, presented by Roan Law on My 48. (36-14). Ravenscroft on top, and it's time for the Carolina Classic Fair Player of the Game, and it's none other than Kyle Hawkins, the 6'5", 200-pound senior quarterback, 16 of 23 through the air, 272 yards and 2 scores. He has been absolutely fantastic tonight and earned himself an early breather before the long bus ride back to Raleigh. Kyle Hawkins, your player of the game, presented by the Carolina Classic Fair. And folks, if you missed it earlier in the broadcast, the fair will not open tomorrow night. It will now open Saturday morning, October 1st, and run through October the 9th.
Really, it was from the word go tonight, wasn't it, with Kyle Hawkins in this offense? They were electric in the first half, settled down a little bit in the second, but probably a little bit of the game plan. They were on fire and were able to move that ball at will in the first half of this one.
Two Ravens fighting over the same ball. It didn't matter. Same result. And with the Cougars only having one timeout remaining and 2:09 to go, Ravenscroft will probably keep this thing on the ground and try and run down this clock and head on back home.
Get out of this one in one piece. High Point Christian, for what it's worth, does have that one timeout left. If they were to try to get the football back, they'd only have a little bit of time left to work with. So, but expect it to stay on the ground, as you did say, Spencer.
Jacob Gilbert under center.
It's a big lineup right there.
And he fumbles the football. Got it back somehow and will gain positive yardage. I don't even know how that happened.
Sure. But by any means necessary, right?
Oh, what a great look.
I mean,
our crew is unbelievable. What a shot.
Oh, my God.
These guys up in the scissor lift tonight, battling the wind. Awesome job by our crew this evening.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out how that's happening under center.
Just heard these guys got the app game tomorrow.
Well, they got to
braving the elements. And here's Abbott down the sideline. Goodbye, touchdown Ravens. Andrew Abbott. 42-14. That's a Riddle Tractor touchdown, making tall grass short.
The burst to the outside was what surprised me there. Just breaking a few tackles. We've seen these running backs for Ravenscroft do it tonight, but look at him bounce outside, and then from there switching hands, and it was the burst, beating everyone to the edge. And And these running backs, we talked a lot about Kyle Hawkins, but these running backs, this running game for Ravenscroft might be just as deadly, even if they are featured.
Abbott came into this game averaging 9.8 yards per carry. It was his 3rd touchdown of the season. The extra point is good, and the Ravens are up to 43 points on the night.
Well, they kept it on the ground, right?
They did. That was the assignment. The kids say they understood the assignment, right? Is that still a thing, or is that like out already?
I don't know. If you take 5 minutes on TikTok, you can probably figure out whether it's still there or not.
Probably better I don't get on there and start dancing.
Yeah, probably. Oh, you do the dances?
I don't, but I don't think anybody wants me to.
I'm not gonna.
Are you a TikTok dancer?
Not yet.
Keyword yet?
Yeah. Well, hey, you know, if the money's good enough.
2 plays, 59 yards in 56 seconds. Abbott with the 55-yard touchdown run. Ravenscroft 401 yards of offense. Wow. That is quite the performance here tonight by the Ravens.
Especially on a short week where you just don't know really what you're going to get.
2 days of practice for Ravenscroft this week.
We kind of usually hear in football that first game, week 1, is usually the time where you're like, I know what players I have, I don't know what kind of team I have. And every coach in America will tell you the same thing. I'm just not sure what kind of team I have just yet. This might be the next closest thing we can find, the next closest example we can find to what week 1 offers.
I got to tell you, I'm shocked that this is the first time that the ball has fallen off the tee tonight.
Hey, we've been blessed here tonight, honestly, with some pretty great weather.
Hashtag.
Yeah, hashtag blessed. Diving right back into TikTok. Thought we left, we never did. But it's been pretty good here tonight, all things considered for what's coming. And if you've watched the news at all, obviously you've seen what's been going on down in Florida. So what's coming our way is not going to be pretty, but tonight's been pretty good, all things considered.
And we are now inside of a minute to go in this one. Here's tonight's Roan Law play of the game. And you just saw it, Andrew Abbott's 55-yard touchdown run to make this a 43-14 ball game. Run, Andrew, run. Roan Law, Triad attorneys who are here to help. That's got to be pretty cool. He doesn't get a whole bunch of playing time, especially with Felton and Stevenson ahead of him, and he comes in there and just rips off a 55-yard touchdown run.
Yeah.
And now he's the play of the game, the Friday Night Rivals game. Pretty sure that'll be all over his TikTok tonight.
Probably. Probably. Just a missed opportunity there, though, for Quick. Probably the only pass we've seen here recently that hasn't been exactly where it probably needed to be. It's wide open down the field. Wouldn't have counted, though, of course, an eligible man down the field.
It's been a relatively clean game tonight.
It has. You know, again, for all the things we talk about with a short week, you know, your preparation as a team, even, you know, officials, it's not Friday. You know, it's a day earlier, and you're trying to go into a game with a different mindset than maybe you normally would. These teams have played really well here tonight and clean.
Here's DeVore, cuts it upfield, down the sideline to the 30, the 20, the 10, and he is into the end zone. Ethan DeVore put 6 on the board for the junior. That's a Riddle Tractor touchdown. Riddle Tractor making tall grass short.
For the way that Ethan DeVore has run tonight, this is a very fitting end to his night at that. The speed to the outside, great lane again from his offensive lineman to get right there, and he follows their blocks, bounces it outside, and from there was all number 2 in navy and white. Getting up the field in the straight line speed to outrun those defenders of Ravenscroft to the end zone.
Green punches through the extra point, 43-21, 39.1 seconds to go in this one. All 21 points for the Cougars coming here in the fourth quarter.
Strong finish.
Which says a lot about these young men.
It does, and that's something we've touched on here, especially in the fourth quarter, is how you continue to compete. Are you going to win the game? No. But when you get into the situations later on in the season, the next couple of years where you've got close games down the stretch, you're going to have it in your mind like, hey, we're not done yet. We still have an opportunity to go out and win a football game. Again, not here tonight, but as you continue on, you develop this program and shape it the way you want to, that's where it's going to come into play.
No question. No question.
Very fitting end to the night for this offense.
2 plays, 67 yards in 18 seconds. And how about Ethan DeVore, 23 carries, $123 on the ground, and a well-deserved trip to the end zone there. And he's earned that swig of water.
Yes, he has. The way he's run tonight. Just continue to hammer away at that defense for Ravenscroft and finally found enough where he could get to the outside and show off the athleticism and the speed in the open field.
Adams is going to roll over it and fall out of bounds with 36.8 seconds to go. And of course, now the wind really picking up. We just felt it up here in the booth.
Well, it waited till the end of the night, so.
Yeah. Wow, look at those flags. They are roaring as Hurricane Ian making its way towards here. Expected to be a tropical storm by the time it reaches North Carolina officially.
Still strong for these parts, though.
50-mile-an-hour gusts expected.
Let us turn it to meteorologists here for the next 36.8 seconds.
That's going to be the extent of that for me.
Don't expect a storm surge up here.
Yes, Gilbert is going to go ahead and take a knee. And that will do it for this one. Ravenscroft is going to head home 7-0 on the year. 43-21 will be our final score after a tremendous showing by Ned Gannett and his ball club, trying to send the Hall of Famer home after this last lap with a potential state championship season, and they are on their way to trying to accomplish that.
Yeah, they've done an excellent job building throughout the season, and just another win for this Ravenscroft team that has been excellent at all levels. Let up a little bit there in the fourth quarter, but overall a dominant performance when they had their foot on the gas pedal.
Final tonight, 43-21, Ravenscroft victorious. Take a quick timeout. We'll wrap things up from here in High Point. You're tuned into the Carolina Classic Fair Friday Night Rivals on My 48, presented by Roan Law.
43-21 our score. Ravenscroft over High Point Christian. Rebecca Fiorentino joined now by head coach of this cast of characters, Ned Gannett. Coach, you get the win. It's undefeated. What do you have to say about these guys here tonight?
Well, I think, like I said, in the first half, we came out and established ourselves on defense. I did a really good job. Our coaches put a good system in. I think we were able to lock in pretty good, and we did enough on offense to move around, spread the ball around in the passing game, got different people. Offensive line seemed to do a pretty good job. So once we established that balance and got ourselves positioned well, I think we played with confidence throughout. The better thing is we were able to get the second half in control and get a lot of kids in the game, which is always beneficial to the program. So proud tonight they came out and competed. It's a victory for us, 7-0. That's a pretty good run.
You got a lot of nodding heads around you agreeing with your statements there. What's impressed you about this winning streak right now?
Well, I think, I knew this team coming back had some experience and had some athleticism. And I think, I'm trying every week to get them to buy into what we're trying to teach them. I tell them every week, you're well prepared in all three phases, offense, defense, a little bit about everything going on over there. And they got to continue buy-in. The season's moving quick. I mean, we're sitting here with basically 4 more games to go. We're kind of jockeying for playoff position, and we got some big games ahead of us, none bigger than next Friday. So we kind of have to ramp it up a little bit, and everybody's got to contribute. We got to stay healthy and keep our focus and pay attention during practice and listen and all those things, which are critical.
Well, Coach, a lot of more nodding heads around us, also agreeing with your statement. Now it's time to present you and your squad with the Carolina Classic Fair Friday Night Rivals on a Thursday trophy. You guys earned this. Congratulations on the big win. Oh, I'll give it over to you. All right, the players get it. Congratulations, Coach.
A big game against Charlotte Latin for Ravenscroft waits for the Ravens next week when they fly back to Raleigh. Let's take a look at tonight's West Rock scoring summary. West Rock, your local leader in paper, packaging, and displays. Come join our team at jobs.westrock.com. And it was all Ravenscroft for the first 3 quarters, and then High Point Christian finally got it together on the ground, scoring 21 points. The final tonight, 43-21.
Just an all-around performance, really, from Ravenscroft, able to relax a little bit more in the second half. All the work they did in the first allowed them to do so. This is a team that will be interesting to watch going forward. 7-0. They've got as good a chance to win a state title as anyone now at that level.
We'd like to take a moment to thank all of our sponsors who make these Friday Night Rivals matchups possible. We'd like to thank Capital Metals and High Point for providing the plaques and trophy seen in tonight's game, Cook's Rentals for the high end zone views, and Mountain Fried Chicken for providing our crew meal. And finally, thank you to tonight's participating high schools and their administrators for their support of our Carolina Classic Fair Friday Night Rivals broadcast presented by Roan Law. Next game, next Friday, October 7th, the Reagan Raiders are hosting the West Forsyth Titans. It's a good old Forsyth County battle right here on My 48 Sports. It was homecoming here in High Point. The Ravens played spoiler, though, with a tremendous performance by Kyle Hawkins and his squad. For our technical director, Russell Jones, our executive producer, Lori Bates, Rebecca Fiorentino down on the sidelines, Mark Covert up here in the booth with me, and the rest of our My 48 crew. I'm Spencer Turkin saying so long and good night. Stay safe, everybody. We appreciate you tuning in to Friday Night Rivals on a Thursday on My 48.